Oh, hey, we're live. Well,
Oh,
what a
fantastic.
wonderful thing for the viewers to come in to just my hands and feet turning white. Welcome everybody to RWU podcast official. I'm Hindsight, and everyone else, introduce yourselves.
I'm Essig.
I'm Eagle.
I'm Cheesepuff.
All right, so let's get this shit started. What's our first talking point today?
I believe it's that video, if Tito will pull that up.
Yeah.
Oh, where's the video?
Yes, I put it in the planning chat.
Okay, so here it is. Why we don't ever call white extremists terrorists. Should we just play it? It is 2 minutes. So.
Yeah, he's gonna play it.
All right, let's watch.
And terrorists the hell out of our country.
Donald Trump says he's committed to protecting America from terrorism. Everybody's cool with that. But what kind of terrorism are we talking about, Mr. President? I'm pretty sure he's talking about the folks who look like this. And this. And these are dangerous people responsible for taking American lives. But he's also talking about these people. Do we really need to be scared of them? Because if we look at the numbers, we shouldn't be. Almost 3/4 of extremist-related deaths in America over the last 10 years were at the hands of, you guessed it, white men. But for some reason, the president won't call them terrorists. They're mentally ill. They're unstable. Lone wolves. We should at least call them a wolf pack because there's a lot of them. Americans are nearly twice as likely to be killed by a white male terrorist than a Muslim, and it happens when you're minding your own business. Walking down the street, enjoying a concert, attending a political rally, practicing baseball, worshiping at a church, praying at a synagogue, shopping for groceries, posing in downward dog in a yoga class, even going to school. In 2018 alone, there have been at least 10 acts of terror carried out by white American men.
How many
The
people are
latest being
tuned
at
into
Borderline
this
Bar and Grill,
podcast
where a
right
white
now?
guy killed 12 people. You know what? We shouldn't
About
be that
5
surprised.
right now.
White men
About
have been
5.
terrorizing Americans for a long time.
Keep it
When
down.
the president
They're
says
still watching
terrorist,
the thing.
he's not talking about any of these wonderful people. So, when I'm aware of an immigrant or Muslim in my presence, I'm cool as penguin feet. However, when I see a white man, shouldn't I wonder if he's mentally stable? That would suck, because living a life afraid of terror is a terrible existence, and there are a lot of white dudes in America. So, Mr. President, will you fulfill your promise of protecting America from terrorists, which, statistically speaking, are men who look just like you?
Powerful. I feel woke. What about you guys?
That guy was so smug.
Fuck, I hate it.
They always are.
Well, the first thing about the first part, we put up the 71% of extremist-related things being white men. First of all, that comes from the ADL, which is super liberal, and Jewish ran, of course. And if you look at the actual FBI crime stats for hate crime incidents from 2015 to 2016, the change from 2015 to 2016 was 107 were anti-white versus about 45 anti-Hispanic, and actually was a change of -6 anti-black. So whites obviously got most of those hate crimes. So I don't know, how the ADL compiled that, but I'm willing to imagine it was entirely biased when government stats show the complete opposite of that.
Another thing is that it's a lot easier to have a domestic terrorist when the majority of people who live in America are fucking white.
Yeah, that was another big thing. When he brought up the Muslims, he said, white men are 2 times as likely as Muslims to commit a terror act. Well, white men alone are about 30% of the population, when Muslims are 1.1% currently. So that statistically means that Muslims are committing a lot of freaking terror attacks.
And it's not to say that all of them do it, because they don't. But
Yeah, but comparatively a lot more.
yeah, there's a considerable amount.
The
It's
other thing
just,
about it. Go ahead.
it's just for the population.
Yeah.
You know, they're
Yeah.
committing a shit ton.
Unfortunately. On top of this, they act like they really just throw in any sort of, and a lot of us do it now. Perhaps we should change the definition of it, but terrorism is defined as politically motivated acts. And a lot of these that they listed as examples of terrorism, by definition, they're not listed as terror attacks for the sole reason that they're not by definition terror attacks. I mean, they're not politically motivated. If somebody goes and shoots up a school, we don't know political motivation behind it. You can't say Parkland was a terror attack. It's, you know, we like to associate any sort of act of violence like that as a terrorist attack, but by definition, it's not. So
Yeah,
Terrorism's meaning has kind of just been lost over the years because
Yeah.
we want to label everything that way.
kind of like you know,
cut.
the word racist. That word's been changed. Like the definition of it isn't
cut.
the way it's treated now. It's all just a lot of definitions definitely need to be changed on words to better associate with.
I don't know about
today.
change, more like just reclaimed. Just stop using fucking that for everything.
Maybe even that. I think in terms of like the terrorist, maybe change it, because it doesn't necessarily have to be in the political sense. It, like, the word terror is involved, so associate with something like an act that you know, like during the act of just shooting up a school or something, it's to strike terror into the hearts of the people.
Yeah. Like, you know, if some incel decides to go into his school with an AK, I don't really think he had a plan other than killing Stacy. So maybe not call it terrorism. Just call it a violent murdering act.
What would be a good way of defining that?
Just being a madman.
yeah, I mean, I do think the definition definitely probably needs changing. But as far as official classification goes, you can't, you know, sit here and be like, why aren't these people being classified as terrorists for this and that? It's like, well, there's a reason that we don't call them terrorists, because they're really not terrorists, technically speaking.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's all a bunch of illusion. Then he went on to talk about all of the white terror, you know, of everything we've done in history, you know, Native Americans, the Ku Klux Klan and stuff like that, of course. And it's like,
Yeah.
you know, look at the last few decades. You know, whites have not been the ones committing all the crime and the terror attacks and all that stuff. Statistically speaking, they're definitely nowhere
Like,
near.
if you have to reach so fucking far back into history, you're kind of already at a loss there.
They're grabbing at straws.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, you should remember the past. The past is an important thing to remember,
That is
but at
true.
the same time, don't use it as your main point, because it just doesn't make sense to compare then to now, because we live in such a different time. Like, the concepts are different.
Over 100 years ago is not an equivalent for today of any sort of political climate.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's about covers it. I mean, if you just, the crime stats of any other group just shows that it's completely false, and as well as the terror stats if you're looking at specifically terror. So I don't really.
You guys want to look into the 13%? Or
The
no?
13%.
Yeah.
I think that's what he's pulling up right now.
Oh, how about that? Who wants to handle that?
You can go for it.
I don't have all the shit in front of me, though.
It's in the plan room, I believe. If we look at interracial violent acts committed in the U.S., because he went on to talk about like how he doesn't, you know, feel safe around white males or something, and he's all cool with Muslims and stuff like that. It's like, well, statistically speaking, whites committing violence against blacks is 32 per 100,000 people, and for blacks against whites is 849. So the likelihood of a white person doing something to a non-white is immensely lower than a black doing something to a white.
And even lower than that is, Well, actually, more is what I meant to say is black people killing other black people. That's a
Oh,
huge,
for sure,
huge,
yeah.
huge issue
That's most
that
of
they
our
don't
homicide.
talk about for some reason.
I mean, if you look at the whole police stuff, it just bothers me so much. If you look at, first of all, how many people are killed by police, and then you cut that in less than half because more whites are killed by police than blacks. So then you have, what is it, around 300 blacks or even less than that are killed by police. And then you cut down the ones that are questionable, that are at least disputed, and you only have about 30. And then you can really look at all those cases, and you can end up with about maybe 10 at most of those cases of blacks being killed by police that you could say were not justified. And then you look at the thousands of blacks that are killed by other blacks, and and it's just like, how is that an issue to them? The 10 people killed by police versus the thousands and thousands killed by yourselves.
Like you're making a mountain out of a molehill when there's actually a mountain right beside that same molehill.
Yep.
But fuck me, I'm just dumb whitey. I don't get it.
Man, fuck white.
Fuck right.
Shit.
Let's talk more about statistics. How apparently it's racist to report them in certain parts of Europe.
Is it?
Yes, the police have stopped. I know in Sweden, of course, it's Sweden.
Okay.
Yeah, they just stopped reporting the crime statistics by race because it's drawing the wrong
This seems
things.
really dumb. I don't know why they would do that.
Because it makes them look bad.
Well,
You gotta suppress it.
who gives a shit?
That's the thing that worries me now is like how left, we get a lot of our data, our stats, usually we can rely on those here. And so we look at the FBI and then we look at universities and their studies. Well, we know that the FBI, has been incredibly left-sided and serving the Democrats. We know that the universities are just insanely leftist. At what point do they just start forging data and information, and studies come out of thin air to support their agendas, and they won't report on studies that have, results that are adverse to what they want?
Or they make studies about, let's just say voter fraud as an example. Much of the studies of voter fraud are based in very, very, very limited scopes. And then when they found very little or nothing in that very little scope, they say, oh yeah, voter fraud doesn't exist. Where's the
Yeah.
evidence? The studies show that voter fraud doesn't exist. Well, most of the studies are conducted in very, very small windows of voter fraud.
As well as where it's at. Like, you see a lot of studies for things are taking place in certain cities where things are less likely to occur. Like, you look at somewhere like Los Angeles or whatever, you do a study there on voter fraud where you have a ton of illegals, you're going to probably get different results.
Well, I think with statistics though, I think it's a great way to learn how to research, because you can't take the statistics at face value because they might not necessarily be accurate. So
Yeah.
Or
on
even
average,
true.
you're probably going to look and see as much as possible in relation to that subject to get the best stats possible.
Mm-hmm. I mean, right
So
now the media's...
When you're looking at pretty much anything, you have to vary your sources as well. You can't just
Yeah.
continue using the same thing. You even have to go on to places that you might not even want to. I, on occasion, go on to CNN just to see what they're actually reporting.
Exactly.
I can debunk them easily on my own, but it's still good just in case to do so.
Understand the enemy.
Yeah, sure.
There's no such thing as, like, there's nothing wrong with reading into what people that you might consider the enemy, there's nothing wrong with reading what they're putting down. It's just, are you going to believe it? Are you going to agree with it? Like, for example, nothing like Siege, the book Siege by James Mason.
That I won't. I'm not gonna do it.
Definitely not a good book.
You don't say.
Like it,
See, to what degree do you extend that application though of seeing the disagreeing viewpoints. I think you really have to look at a lot of things to find truth, but
Yeah.
there's an extent to which, like, I just have no interest in reading Siege. I see what it does to people, and I say, I don't think there's anything of substance for me to gain by looking at that.
I read it just so that I could understand exactly what the people that advocate it really believe in, and I gotta say, like,
Was it convincing at all?
well, sure, it had its convincing points, but like
You're not gonna put on a skull mask anytime soon and say, "Fuck it, your optics, I'm going in."
Yeah, like the first half of the book makes some good points. It really does.
I'm sure that's how they draw you in the radicalization, though.
Yeah, the first half is what draws you in, and then you get to the second half of the book, and it's just telling you to go blow up your fucking mailman and burn down a government building or two.
I mean, I disagree, or I agree with one of the core points of it, that you really can achieve order out of disorder. I mean, it's obvious that you're not going to get a lot of political change without something major happening. And so it's kind of
there's always disorder before order.
Yeah, and there's the idea of accelerationism. I just think that, one, it's incredibly morally wrong what it advocates for. I think we can all agree on that.
Oh, yeah.
Secondly, I think that you have to look at what kind of order it's going to create. You can have a leftist order or a right-wing order. I think that if you go doing that stuff, you're only going to serve to create disorder that is going to achieve their agenda versus ours.
Yeah.
What was the second thing we had? Oh, he's got a meme up there. What's it say?
It says re-siege. I'm not going to.
Honestly, I really do think that those memes are hilarious. They make me laugh. They probably shouldn't, but they do.
Look at this photograph every time. It makes me laugh.
Well, next we had the French protests. Anybody have some thoughts on that?
Let me know. Go ahead and read off the article for us, please.
Yeah.
I don't actually have an article on hand, but I've been following it a little bit. So basically, it's over all the gas prices. His approval rating is at 26% right now.
I remember this.
Wait, that's what they're protesting about? The gas prices?
Yeah.
Taxes, and I think that's good, but it's like, you look at what's going on in France, and then that's what gets 250,000 people out there protesting. That's what drops his approval rating.
What the fuck?
I'll go ahead and read this off for
libertarians.
French government blames Marine Le Pen for violent Paris fuel protests. In the second week of demonstrations, thousands are protesting against a steep rise in diesel prices bought in by the presidents. That's it. That's the whole thing.
Why would they blame Marine Le Pen for that?
I don't know.
Oh
shit! 2 people have been killed in the protests so far.
Oh damn!
It's
getting insane.
The real question is, why the fuck would they start a riot over that?
Well, the French are always kind of retarded about their cars. Like,
no
idea why.
Didn't they do a protest in the 60s?
I don't remember, but they have a weird autism about their cars. They have stupid staying power. Like your car costs like a ridiculous price. It's like 4 times more than you can get whatever in the UK, and it'll sell at that same price that you bought it, no matter how much mileage.
Really?
Like people used to just go to any other European country that isn't ran by madmen and buy their cars there and then bring them back. Well, there's a law that if you do that, you have to sell that car and buy a French-owned vehicle in France somewhere within 6 months, or you will get fined and have your shit repossessed or something. I don't know.
You gotta be fucking
That's crazy.
No.
I mean, I think this is good. Obviously, if they're putting the blame on Le Pen, it's obviously going to serve a right-wing agenda, and low taxes are always nice. So I think it'll help, but it's still dumb to protest over this.
All over the place in France, like when you hire someone as a small business, let's say you have 10 guys. Well, you're paying about the same worth of 20 men for just those 10 guys because of how much taxes you are throwing at the government because they want some of that shit. Let me find the thing. Looking for the note.
Well, while we wait, why don't we talk about America for a minute?
Hell yeah.
America. A bit of a
Well, we
pit
aren't
right
Uganda,
now.
so
Yeah,
Yeah.
but the American people just don't have the fire that they used to have anymore. They don't have the gumption to do shit.
For sure.
America isn't fueled by its dangerous levels of nationalism anymore from World War II.
A nice segue to the Jefferson movement.
Sure, why not?
We used to be this innovating country. We used to be a country that stood for what was right. We did the impossible. We went to the fucking moon, for Christ's sake. We don't do that anymore. We don't do anything.
We don't win.
Well, we've been to the moon and back, so.
Well, yeah, but it's just an example. We just don't do anything anymore, and we've just stagnated. The American people need something. They need it. They
No,
need a reason to fight.
We need the 50s again. I mean, you just look at what's happening there. America was, for the first time ever, on top of the world. And it brought its list of problems that left us to where we are now. But as far as just the time period, people were so proud to be American and to achieve something. I mean, we achieved so much in that time that was just unthinkable. And it was always American accomplishments. And now we've just lost that. We don't want to achieve anything as America.
If we're getting to a point in America to where we're seeing a divide very much occur. It won't be long now until I think that people will actually start fighting amongst each other.
No, they already are. Have you seen the college campuses?
Well, even more so because
It's gonna
now-
get a lot worse before it gets better.
now you
For
have
sure.
movements. Now you have movements across America trying to split their states. Jefferson is one example because of California's horrible policies, but there's many others as well.
America just needs a symbol. They need a hero.
I need Chris Kyle too.
They need somebody that represents what America stood for.
The problem is, no matter what happens, the media will be after them saying how anti-American they are, and they'll try to split
Yeah.
each other.
I mean, I think that I mean, Trump overcame that. I think Trump's been a little bit of a disappointment in a multitude of areas. He's been good in others, but
It wasn't the
populist
direct
figure-
suicide that Hillary would be.
Yeah, I have a question. You know, kind of relates to that. Do you guys think America's gotten better over the last 2 years?
Yeah.
I actually don't think it has. I think that we're on a decline slower is all, but I think that the big problems we have, the social decay, the demographics, I think we're getting worse still.
I think
Yeah,
most of
I really think it's just it's kind of the same. I really don't think much has changed.
Well,
They've
our
kind of slowed
economy,
it down, but
our economy has improved. There's more jobs now, and
Well,
yeah,
that,
there's
that doesn't mean
that.
anything though. Let's be real here.
It means
Okay, look at
something.
all the white nations. Pretty much all of them are doing great. I mean, they'll vary a little bit. Economic systems are gonna fluctuate. I think there is a
Can we
economics do
pan-
matter,
can
but
we pan the camera back to the burning pile that is France and Sweden?
yeah.
I mean, yeah, they're economically though they're doing better
No.
than a third world country.
You think?
And if you look at their countries right now, look how many non-whites are flooding into them. I mean, there's like a direct correlation between those Scandinavian utopias, their economic downfall, and the amount of immigrants they're taking in. I don't think you're just going to automatically be successful if you have whites, but it does help a lot. I mean, look at Africa. Every nation's doing well in Africa has whites in it. Well in their terms.
I would love it if there was like a seriously like black ethno state that was so successful it drew back people into it.
Same. I want what was that called? Wakanda.
I would
want that to
actually
happen.
love it if Wakanda was our best ally. I'm not even
Oh.
fucking kidding.
I definitely promote that for sure.
I would be like, do you want a plane ticket to Wakanda? I come on, Juan. Let's go.
What's that scene from SpongeBob where he just gives away pretty patties for free?
Yeah. It's just that with plane tickets to Africa.
Yeah.
Oh, what the fuck?
They just decided to give us money, so
I kind of wish that either we never went to Africa or we still had all of our,
I think it'd
colony
be nice
states.
if we just actually didn't fuck with it at all, just to see
Yeah.
if they could have been something nice. But you know, the
I
eternal
doubt it,
Anglo.
but
strikes
it
again.
would have left us with less problems, that's for sure. And looking at the South Africa thing today, I almost wonder. Part of me does say I almost just wish that the South Africans would just leave, come back to European nations, and then just leave them to their own demise, and we don't have to deal, and then we don't have to worry
Well,
about them.
they weren't a real demise.
I think that, if you look at GDP, it's not that that's everything, but GDP per capita, it's so in line with white population. I think South Africa, if the whites left, it would collapse.
I know
Well-
that I know that there was some successful African kingdoms
Yeah,
and shit.
I
I need
I
to
don't
look
think
them
you,
up.
I
'cause
don't think you have to worry about
I know it was in
whites
West.
leaving though. I'm pretty sure
There's
they'll
one-
just kill them before they leave.
There's one African nation right now that's actually doing pretty well. If I can get a map of Africa, I forget what it's called. Botswana. Botswana is actually doing pretty good. For some
What
reason,
about
they're
Namibia?
isolated too.
Maybe
that?
that's why.
I thought Namibia was doing well as well.
They might be, yeah. I know that a lot of those nations down there are doing a little bit better than North
Maybe
Africa.
Botswana's doing so good because it is isolated.
A lot of they just have had some good policies as far as I recall. I also think that they're the ones that are getting a lot of help from China right now. Possibly, I'm not sure on that.
I don't know.
Yeah,
What do you guys
China's
think
actually
about
really involved.
the trade war between America and China?
Not enough to damage the Chinese economy, not enough to damage ours. It's
Yeah, the
just business as usual.
The Chinese are pissed about it though.
We have so
Yeah.
much control over them. I mean,
It's
Trump's
yeah. Well,
usually
there you go.
that.
There's the table that turned.
If we completely cut trade with them, that would hurt them much more than it hurt us.
Well, yes, it would definitely hurt them economically, but at the same time, it would mean that they would be pushed further towards sort of a Cold War state. They wouldn't be they would have to reach a state of not being dependent on us, and
Yeah,
once they're
but
independent, they're going to try to rival us a lot more.
a lot of the stuff that we're seeing, a lot of stuff I'm seeing, at least like the articles that are being posted about the Chinese v America trade war, they're talking about how it's probably just going to lead to a Cold War anyways.
It's possible. I doubt it though. I mean, that's what's made China what it is. Ever since Nixon opened up our trade with them, they've relied on us. Their economy is built around us, and other European nations as well.
Don't they have like guys that fucking steal they steal concepts like Facebook and shit, and then they just add new in front of it?
Possibly.
New Facebook.
Oh, I just remembered what that one African empire was. It was Mali. It was far west Africa upper, and it was like a trade port for every fucking thing, and had a stupid amount of gold.
Oh yeah, I remember that. Yep.
Yeah. And, yeah, it was. That's one of the successful. The guy who ran it was Mansa Musa, I think.
Yep.
And he
like
converted it to.
Mansa Musa was so rich, he personally, by himself, inflated gold so much that it became worthless.
Because he just had so goddamn much of it.
He just started giving it to everyone, and as a result, it became worthless.
Eventually, his son killed him, I think, and then unfucked the empire. But then that overturned because they got fucked by something else.
Speaking of
Sounds like
gold,
Africa.
Speaking of gold, do you guys think that Fort Knox actually has any?
Probably.
Yes.
I don't think it does.
Why the hell would they keep guards there for no reason then? Just to
Wait,
keep up
where?
appearances?
Just to keep up
Are you
appearances.
fucking? No, it's dumb.
Well, yeah, it's dumb, but this isn't the first time that something fucking dumb has happened.
That is true, but still.
I mean, it probably does have gold, and I'm probably just being a dipshit. But
Probably.
what if it didn't? Like they just revealed one day
What if
that
there
it
was
was
really
empty.
aliens at Area 52?
Wait a minute, what?
Yeah, that's right. 52.
Okay, I'm not that much of a conspiracy theorist.
Okay, but let's actually talk about the Jeffersons.
Yeah, let's talk about that.
Cheesepuff.
Oh yeah.
Go
Um,
ahead. This is your domain. This is your.
You have the
alright,
floor.
Well, we have
Step
a
up.
lot of new information coming out about California of the recent events of the wildfire.
Oh yeah, are you surviving that?
Actually,
Oh, it just killed him. Fuck.
we got
All right, guys. That was Cheesepuff.
hey, hey.
No longer a puff. He's cheese melted.
But anyway,
Wonderful dip.
yeah, it's been really bad. You had the fire going, and then they got flash flooded, so everything was destroyed. And as a result, before they had a chance to go back and check out their houses, they got flooded.
I'm not saying God wanted to kill y'all, but
Well, this is in the rural conservative areas of California.
Yeah.
So
I'm not saying he wanted to rapture you before the real shit happened, but
You're saying this is in the rural conservative areas?
my friend in
Where this is
Utah
happening?
said that. My friend in Utah said that this is a sign from God for the conservatives to get out while they
But
can.
This is God's way of saying that he's a libtard.
no,
No,
God's like, all right, y'all. I'm firing these warning shots before the real shit kicks in. Y'all
No.
leave.
Maybe-
You
Yeah,
guys
maybe it's a
leave.
warning sign to
it-
get you out of there before California breaks off and
It
explodes.
is.
Alright, but
It is
let's get
burning in
into-
Jefferson, but it
let's
is also
get-
burning a bunch of celebrity houses down there.
Let's
is
get into the
amazing.
real. Let's get into the real meat of this. These wildfires for the past 2 or 3 years. These immense wildfires that have been causing hundreds of deaths, missing people, count billions of dollars of destruction of property. This is all in fault of the California government. This is all in fault of the California government.
I know a little bit of it, but since you're the native, you probably know a shit ton more
Oh,
than
yeah.
me. So
Let me go over a few things. A few years ago, I'd say around 5 years ago, 10 years. I don't remember the exact year for this, but environmentalists forced the Well, I wouldn't say force, but they persuaded the California government to make it illegal for people to clear dry brush and trees within the wild and, the forest and such like that. What this did is it made the forest denser, it made the wood drier, it made it much more susceptible to wildfires.
and this was in an effort to save some endangered species or some shit, right?
This was an effort to leave the environment in its natural state.
Okay.
It's the most ridiculous fucking thing ever, and people are dying because of it. But
Hey, all in the name of Mother Nature, am I right?
as the dice rolls, they start blaming Trump and global warming, as usual, I guess, even though this is directly as a result of them and PG&E.
Listen, if you have an entire forest of dead fucking trees, all it takes is exactly one clap of thunder, and it's over.
Well, you've heard of PG&E, right?
No.
Okay, so there's a monopoly company on the Pacific Coast that essentially provides all the power, all the electricity, and all the gas lines for the whole state, and possibly through Oregon too. This monopoly has been urged on by the people of the California legislature, especially Jerry Brown. Last year or the year before last, the bipartisanship passed a law through the California legislature that made safety standards a must for PG&E's power lines so wildfires don't happen more often. Well, guess what? The governor, Jerry Brown, decided to veto it. Oh. So, we got that going on. And also, a few months ago, they passed a law that allows PG&E to simply raise its rates on its customers to pay for the legal fees that the wildfires cost.
Why would that be illegal? What the fuck?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure monopolies aren't allowed to occur.
Are allowed to exist, is what
Yeah.
you meant to say?
California allows it to exist. I believe the
Of course they
higher ups
do.
in the California government are in bed with the higher ups of PG&E.
So are you a native to Californian? If
Yes,
you
I am.
are, please explain to me why they're just galaxy brained.
What do you mean?
They're fucking retarded.
Yeah.
Okay, well that goes back to the Reagan years, but let me make it as simple and fast as I can. So, you have the government who does completely opposite of what they say they will. They say, "Oh, we're against big business." Then they give every frickin' right in the world to PG&E to screw over all of its customers. Oh, we're for small businesses. Then they make taxes and regulations so much within the state that everyone is forced out of state. You've heard of the California exodus happening.
Yes, it's overtaken most of Austin, Texas.
They also trick the populace. Like, for example, Proposition 6. Proposition 6 essentially would have repealed the gas tax, which is quite a bit of money for gas, if you haven't heard of the gas tax. And, what else? It also stops the California government by for passing taxes in the future without the consent of the people of California. This was huge, and it was struck down by California's
Dude, don't
voters.
put that text off of there. They don't deserve that. Well, I mean, they do, but still.
California voters also decided to vote for a bullet train initiative project that costs $100 billion now, instead of saying, "Oh, well, we have all this money going to absolutely shit and useless projects. Why don't we transfer those funds over to fixing our infrastructure?" No, the California government likes to go on and say, "Oh, well, we don't have enough money to do everything, so let's just raise taxes." And people seem justified by that. Truth be
Eh.
told, I don't know what goes on in everyone's minds, but I think what's happening right now is that the people within major metropolitan areas of California are so brainwashed to the point of following one party that they will do anything to keep that in line. They're brainwashed into thinking that this party is God at everything, and everyone who's other-minded is a fucking psychopath or something.
You mentioned
and now because of this, Los Angeles is surrounded by 4 separate fires.
Well, like, a lot of people say, like, the Hispanic voters tend to vote Democrat, but that's only metropolitan areas.
Dude, stop with your edgy shit.
In rural California, especially in the Central Valley, where Hispanics are the major majority, it votes conservative. That's because they know they're being screwed over by the California government. They know they're being screwed over by these policies. Yet the people in the cities, they don't care. They think that whatever happens will benefit them. Who cares about what happens to the rural Californians?
You mentioned the Reagan years, and didn't he give amnesty to a bunch of illegal immigrants in California?
I think that started the the domino effect within California.
I know that America has a history of giving citizenship to a mass of people. Like whenever we try to close our border, and then fucking we don't.
Well, even to this day, a lot of the Hispanics here, a lot of the legal immigrants hate the illegal immigrants coming in. Because they're taking their jobs as well. It's not just a Republican talking point of, "Oh, the illegals are taking our jobs," and then the Democrats jump on it saying it's stupid. It's entirely fucking real. And you're seeing this. Job growth has declined in California, and Texas has surpassed California of job growth earlier this year.
I believe that.
657,000 people left the state last year to move to other states because of how, let's just say, it's impossible to live within the cities now.
I mean, just with all the cost of living, like I've had a friend who is an immigrant from California telling me about how just like the parking spaces in the city are like $12 to $20 an hour,
Oh,
which is stupid.
Oh yeah, San
Like,
Francisco actually passed a new thing that will take away parking spots, and in exchange they put bike parking spots everywhere.
why the fuck?
So now it's even more crowded than usual. I can't, like, if you go into San Francisco, you've heard
Don't-
all the shitting on the streets, people breaking into cars normally. A friend of mine got his truck broken into 6 times within 2 months.
That's okay.
So you have all of that happening, but then you have no place to park anywhere, and the city just says, "Oh, well, let's make less places to park." You know how congested this city is. Let's just make it worse for people trying to commute.
Yeah, just there's no real reason to live in California, in my opinion, unless you're a fucking YouTuber or some shit. Someone who
that's
doesn't
what-
have like a. No? I'm sorry, what? You kind of cut out there.
All right, sorry, I'm back.
Okay.
All right, so this is why the Jefferson movement is gaining so much ground. You have this beautiful, beautiful section of California filled with trees, mountains, snow. You have the American vision of well, I would say libertarianism, but it's more conservative, with the exception of weed on the coast. That's like a big thing now.
Dude, weed Lamo.
Yeah, the Jefferson movement has a little bit of an infighting about the weed issue, but that's beside
I love smoking weed and playing on my Nintendo Switch.
I own a Nintendo Switch.
You smoke
I'm real
weed?
happy. I'm real happy that my wife's boyfriend got that for me.
But this is why Jefferson.
Yeah, he died again. The California wildfire finally got him. The one that's over 20 miles.
You know, it actually
One right
started with
outside
the
of Chico?
Orville. It started with the Orville situation in 2016, I want to say. Do you know what happened then?
No.
Okay. Well, you know how I said that the California legislature likes to spend billions of dollars on infrastructure, needless infrastructure projects without focusing on its own infrastructure? Well, the Orville Dam, 12 years ago, 12 years from 2016, there was a report that came into the California legislature that said that the Orville Dam was in horrible disrepair and needed repairs quickly. They decided to ignore and shove it to the back. In 2016, the dam almost broke and would have killed over 100,000 people instantly.
Holy shit.
Oh my fucking god.
By the way,
What the fuck are they spending on before?
The wildfire was just north of Orville anyway. The Orville Dam is one of the largest in America, just to let you know. So, that also ticked off a lot of people. Ticked off is the light way of putting it. So, what they did was they slightly patchworked it, and they still haven't fixed it.
So they put a band-aid over the gaping wound and said, all right, guys, let's work on other infrastructure projects that won't go anywhere.
You know,
Speaking
in
of-
2016, they said the cost of rebuilding the project was around $500 million. They ignored it, and now it's up to $1.5 billion. So,
Awesome.
Speaking of disasters, apparently earlier, hundreds of migrants have rushed into California port of entry.
Holy shit, you can't get a break, can you, Cheesepuff?
The port's been shut down.
well, let's just say that even a lot of the Hispanics here, not in the cities, but in the rural areas, hate this. Hell, my friend.
I could fully expect to see like Juan and his boys who are already living in this area getting their guns and going, all right, I'll kill him myself. Like this is bad enough.
My extended family, is Hispanic, and they voted across the board Trump. So I mean, they live in the Central Valley.
not many people realize that the Hispanics that live here already are 100% pro-Trump, unless they're retarded. Like,
Unless they
and
live in
and
the
by
cities.
retarded I mean probably 14 down.
Unless they live in the cities. That's the
That
big
too.
thing. So the Jefferson movement is appealing to people who actually want to live in this beautiful area without being forced out like everyone else is. They have the attraction of gun rights, because God knows, oh God, the gun rights that have just that have been pushed into this year and last year.
I watched a video where a guy was trying to get his concealed carry permit for over a year, and he just can't get a fucking interview going,
That
and
depends.
the police department just keeps
That
getting
depends
back to
on
him
which
like,
county.
we'll get to you.
That depends on which.
I don't know. I don't remember. I think it was Orange County.
Orange County is in the. If it's a metropolitan county, which Orange County is, there's no way in hell you're gonna get a concealed carry permit.
All right, it's 3:44 Eastern Standard Time. I think we're gonna say whatever other talking points we have, and I think we're gonna end it at 4 or 4:10.
How long until then?
Well, it's 3:44 right now, so
15 minutes.
Oh, we just got started. Damn.
Yeah.
Sure you want to cut it short so quickly?
Yeah. Can't we keep going a little bit?
yeah, we can keep going. I'll be gone for like towards the end of it.
I
so.
mean, you didn't really put much in anyway.
Wrecked.
Fucking know.
I don't think I'll be able to recover from that.
Sorry, libtard.
Hindsight taking over the podcast.
I'll just finish my little rant with this.
Go ahead.
This state needs to be balkanized as quickly as it fucking can.
Ooh, that's a bold statement.
This
Oh my.
people say, oh, let's split it into 3 states. Let's split it into 2 states. No, let's split this fucking thing into 10 states. Why not?
Fucking my heart's a flutter.
There's hell. Northern Nevada is being completely controlled by Las Vegas, for example, because of the amount of people leaving California, turning their state blue. They want
The independent Republic of Las Vegas when?
They want a state split too. Eastern Washington and Oregon want a state split because of literally their entire states being run by Seattle and Portland. And who gives a fuck about the rest of the people there, huh? It's fucking ridiculous. This whole thing is fucking ridiculous. Oh yeah, let's just pass a law that you can't get ammo out of state or guns out of state.
So, so what you're saying is the best hope for California right now is to turn it to small slab block countries, pretty much.
Correct.
All across.
That is
Holy
the only
fuck.
way. That is the only way that California can actually govern itself. It's become too large to govern.
I have a smile on my face I never expected to have right now.
It's really become too large to govern, and if I ever live to see the day where California is balkanized into at least 4 states, I'll be happy.
People in the
problem
comments,
is-
please go ahead and put in your favorite California sub state name, just so that they'll have ideas to pick out of the hat.
Go on Twitter, say hashtag Balkanize California.
I don't
The
have a
Independent Republic of Las Vegas.
Here's the thing we have to worry about. We have to worry about a few things. One is that senators, the Congress, you get 2 senators, so if you're splitting them up into a bunch of different states, if those states include too many metropolitan areas, you're going to have a problem. So that's why I propose like a 3-state split. You have Jefferson, and then you have like regular California, which is just the coast, and then like New California or South California or something like that. Which
that's
is
the
the
thing
other
about-
side.
So Jefferson State, New California Republic, and just
I
county.
never want to associate New California with the movement ever again, considering the shit they pulled.
Well, yeah, that's two different states though.
Well, you've heard of the New California movement, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
but that was
Yeah,
something
I
to
played
propose
Fallout
Jefferson.
once.
That was created in part by the Jefferson movement. A person was fed up with the leadership and then left to create his own movement. Truth be told, and then he started tacking on the hyper blue counties of the coast and then calling it New California. Let's add the Silicon Valley into our plan, guys, yeah? Let's add frickin' San Diego into our plan, guys, yeah? That's a good idea.
Just add everything that we don't have yet.
Yeah, they just decide, let's just. You know how we have a representation issue in this state? You know how the rural communities have no say in the state legislature whatsoever? Yeah, let's just do that again and give the Democrats
We're
another
smart.
state under their
We're
belt.
smart.
Hell, if you're gonna make a third state, call it the state of San Joaquin or the state of Mojave. That sounds better.
Thank you, Kanye. I do think it's cool. M34 73 751. That's a terrific name.
Wait a minute, Kanye West is in the chat.
Yeah,
Well, hell yeah.
that's his patented Kanye orange right there.
Damn, dude, we got a gay fish in the chat.
Fuck. Who said that we can't be diverse, huh?
Yeah, exactly.
Let me
Welcome
find this.
aboard, gay fish.
There's a
You like
few
fish sticks?
balkanization maps I have on
What?
my phone somewhere.
Let me try to find some.
All right, we'll pull it up, and in the meantime, we'll be autoing the shit posts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One more thing before I go. There's also a movement to separate Eastern Oregon and Washington into its own state called the State of Lincoln. I suggest looking it up.
State of Lincoln. I could actually get behind that.
Hey, now.
I feel like a state of Jackson would sound pretty decent.
The only state that
think
shoots
that's
you
how-
back.
I think that's happened before, but I'm not.
Their
There's-
borders just have cannons lined up.
Yeah. There's parties every fucking week in the government buildings.
Wait. Do fish have dicks?
Some. Sure.
I've never looked into the whole process there. I'm sure you have.
I don't think no. I mean, I know a little bit about marine biology, but
Sophomore zoology.
Is that like
I
cascading
do
or
want to
something?
take a minute and talk about how octopuses are so fucking cool, but well, that's for a different time.
We'll do a deep sea
Deep
adventure
sea RWU guy,
podcast.
marine biology with hindsight.
Let's not forget the true master race, the octopuses.
They are. I am so sad that they can't live to like 10 or something.
They don't need to. They do everything that they want to do.
No, I
and
mean
they're
they'd be fucking walking. Like I'm not even kidding. They're so fucking smart. I love them.
Oh yeah, they're really smart.
What do you guys think of the Cascadia movement, the Republic of Cascadia?
Never
Go
heard
ahead
of
and
it.
inform us if you can link it.
God, don't get me fucking started on
Oh,
that.
we do want to get you started on. Let's go, Cheesepuff. I like that reaction. It's very
Yeah, let's
strong.
hear that.
If I could describe it, I could describe it as the most
Yes, you
bipolar
can.
movement I've ever seen.
All right, I can get behind this. Let's go. Continue.
You either have this fucking ethno state being pushed by really, really far right people on one side, and then on the other side you have fucking communists and socialists in Portland and Seattle pushing this idea to say, hey, let's all unite with fucking British Columbia and whatever else,
Nigga,
so we
what?
can make our own separate state filled with environmentalism.
Well, that's
and
the big problem I
socialism.
have with the state is that it's trying to put Canadians and Americans in the same country, and that's
Ew.
just something I can't get behind, because I
Get
really
away,
do hate
fucking
Canadians.
Mexican
They're
hat.
trying to
Leaf.
they're trying to
Rake
s-
the
they're
leaves.
trying to split away and create a like one side of the movement is trying to split away and create their socialist hippie paradise, while the other side is just like, yeah, let's
Yeah.
make a fucking ethno state. Let's not forget that so many people here are Asian Chinese immigrants coming from China. Let's not forget Vancouver and Seattle.
Hey, does China still own like a lot of property in Canada,
Hell yeah.
or have they fixed that yet? No,
They
no,
have
no?
not fixed that at all.
Canada,
fix problems.
pick one.
I just want to say Justin Trudeau is an amazing actor. I mean, he can play as an Indian, a Chinese guy, Indian, a
He
man.
was
Yeah,
in a
he should-
World War I film.
Yeah.
He should honestly just stick to Hollywood instead of politics. He's better at Hollywood.
Much better.
I would actually watch him in a movie, in any role, like blackface, everything. He plays
Honestly,
well.
like an anti-Canadian poster that
Anti-Canadian movements. Let's go.
I just thought of a really genius anti-Canadian poster where it's like a rake and it's the maple leaf or something. It's like rake the leaves.
That already exists.
Wait,
I've seen
really?
it on 4chan. Yeah.
Well, damn. I guess I'm not that smart.
It just says Day of the Rake. Very threatening.
Oh.
Oh, Essig, we never got your cooking segment.
Oh no.
What were you gonna cook?
I don't know. Here,
I
I'll
mean-
look up a recipe for something good, like a black garlic burger.
No, that's what?
For reference, this is a map of the general ideologies for the counties.
Go ahead and put that in there, Tito, please.
Our trusty Slovenian.
Big shout outs to Tito, living in that third world decrepit hole.
Where even is Slovenia?
Doesn't matter. It's not one of the important countries.
Honestly, before meeting Tito, I had never heard of Slovenia.
I had, but I
would
just
you?
didn't care. Oh, wait, is Slovenia that country that has to share, like, they have to go through mail with Slovakia every year because people send it to the wrong country?
Yeah.
I think that's a thing.
So,
Well, I've got a banana bread recipe if y'all are ready.
well, it's gonna be outclassed by my black garlic burger recipe, but go ahead.
All right, so it's a 3-bowl bread recipe. In the large bowl, you blend 1/3 of a cup of softened butter, 2/3 of a cup of sugar, and you just kind of blend it till it's creamy and light. After that's done, you add a egg, preferably from a hen that's it's fresh or some shit. Beat that mixture until it gets to more of a blend. In the second bowl, sift 3/4 of a cup of flour together and 1/2 of a teaspoon of baking powder, and then 1/4 of a teaspoon of baking soda, another teaspoon of cinnamon. In the third bowl, mash of 3 very ripe banana fruits, preferably sweeter variety if you can. Add another 1/3 of flour mixture to the buttering bowl, and then beat the two together, and then add 1/3 of the mashed bananas and beat it again. Just continue adding the mixtures and just beat the shit out of it in the large bowl until all the flour, eggs, and banana fruit are blended nicely. And then, if you wish, put some walnuts in there for flavor. Spread that shit into a 4x8 greased pan. Bake that shit for an hour at the temperature of 350 degrees. The resulting bread is very healthful, tasty, and can be served as an addition to the mid-morning meal. Also makes a pleasant snack in a picnic basket, and is wholly appropriate fare for any visitor.
Bake that shit. That's all I got out of it. Bake that
Mhm.
shit.
All right. So, welcome to my corner. It's cooking with Essig.
I finally.
What-
Oh, hey, it's finally on the fucking thing.
What I have
California.
for
there
you
it
guys to taste with your mouths is a black garlic burger. Now you might be wondering, what is black garlic? It's pretty fucking obvious. It's black garlic. It's very rare,
It's
very
black.
expensive. It's from Korea,
Ew.
and it's basically just caramelized garlic. And you're gonna want 2 brioche rolls, mayo, beef,
mayo.
tomato.
How are you struggling so hard with this?
I've like a.
You're reading it right in front of you. How are you?
It's like a stutter. All right.
Okay.
I have lettuce. You're gonna want potatoes for your fries.
Can I get the recipe
There's
today?
the goddamn image. That took me long enough.
All right, throw that on there, Tito, please.
All right. We're gonna have to. I posted it. You guys can fucking read it.
Oh, you're terrible.
I'm
No,
gonna
I'm
head off.
No. All right,
Goodbye,
bye.
Essig.
We'll learn about this black burger later.
All right. See you fellas around.
Okay, so there is the thing. Cheesepuff, could you identify what the fuck we're looking at?
Okay, well, this is the other plan I've been thinking of. Also, you could probably add that orange Oregon and the purple Washington together for your socialist Cascadia state.
Ew.
But that's one state to the Democrats as opposed to two. But that's besides the point. You got Jefferson, you got the state of San Joaquin or Mojave, whatever you want to call it. You have the red California that has all their major cities taken out, chunked out, and you have northern Nevada and Las Vegas, and then you have the state of Lincoln.
Okay. And this is the proposed balkanization of
That's
Cali.
that's one of my balkanization plans. I have multiple. I just can't find them right now.
Okay. So yeah, the main idea is to just divide this large land so that they can be properly represented to what their very, very different needs
Correct.
of the areas are. Correct.
Correct.
All right.
Let's not forget that let's see, 87% of California's water is held within the Jefferson region.
Oh, really?
And well, another thing is that the fact that they dump 80% of the water they receive into the ocean.
But
Oh,
how do they even do that?
you
Like,
didn't hear about that?
no. How are they managing to do that? How does that even make
Okay,
sense?
so you have water coming down, going to farms and whatnot. All the water usually goes through the sewer systems and going to houses and shit, you know?
Yeah.
Then after the water gets all dirty from all that, it goes to water cleaning plants on the coast, where they take in billions and billions of gallons of water a day to clean to the most pure form it can be, like 100% pure water. Like
Just
it's
H2O.
It's cleaner than when it arrived at the houses. And then they dump 80% of the water they receive into the ocean and sterilize the salt water, while 20% of it goes back to like golf courses and whatnot.
Okay, but why would they ever do that? Because it's not even a good idea to throw it in the ocean that's made out of salt anyway.
I don't know. The environmentalists won't pin them on it because I guess they're Democrat or something. They won't pin it sterilizes the wildlife. It sterilizes all the fucking plant life in the area. But let's just ignore that. And then and then you have people in the farms, people in the rural areas not getting enough water. You have people on the outskirts of cities not getting enough water. And now the California legislature is like, instead of fixing this fucking issue, let's just pass a law that in 2020, people in the rural areas will be limited to 55 gallons of water a day, or else they'll be fined.
Excuse me? How the fuck are you gonna farm?
People in the rural areas, this is for residential homes entirely. Just so you know, an average shower is around 50 gallons of water.
Okay, so what you're doing is you're gonna have a communal tub that everybody's just gonna get into, right?
In 2020, rural housing is residential housing is going to be limited to 55 gallons a day of water, and then by 2022 or 24, it's going to be 50 gallons a day.
Okay. But real question: how does that 80% even get into the water? Like, who decides? Like, who made the decision of, okay, we're done cleaning it, throw it in the ocean?
I don't know. That's the problem with this. You have so much water that you're just fucking throwing away. And like my father, for example, he works at a water treatment plant. That's how I found out about this. Like, they never talk about this, and yet they dump 80% of it out. And this is not just one incident. This is every single water treatment plant along the coast. Why do they do this? I don't know. I've never been able to find that information.
If you guys are wondering why he's so triggered, imagine someone handing you a water bottle and saying, "This is all you have to drink for today," and then behind them you see a gigantic reservoir of water that they have just now thrown into the sand.
Yeah, that explains my frustrations entirely.
I got a random question here about your little map you had. You showed Nevada. What's the purple at the bottom there?
Las Vegas.
Oh, that's where Las Vegas is. I thought it was up more. Well, shit.
The Democratic People's Republic of Las Vegas.
Las Vegas is just so far gone. It's not even
The
worth
gambling
celebrating.
Republic of America.
Yeah, I would actually kind of like that. I wonder what the fuck their flag would be.
Yeah, it would be awesome. Like a
Just
bunch
be
of cards.
like a
and
dice. Yeah, just
I
but
had
like
I had a
stripes and
flag.
shit.
I had a flag somewhere. I can't find it now, but
Oh, I was thinking of Reno, the only other city in in Nevada.
Reno. Do you see the top left one that's really long and skinny?
If Las Vegas becomes
county
its own
is-
state, Reno 911 would be a real thing.
Reno is at the bottom of that long skinny county to the top left. And I normally go there for snowboarding and shit like that. It's really nice there. It's actually really nice there, up in the mountains too. It's
Cool.
moderate for a city. It's basically half and half, and the rest of this Nevada is essentially red. Like even Clark County, the one I singled out for Las Vegas, is entirely red, except for Las Vegas. That one city makes the entire state blue, and not just blue, but completely blue to the point to where they have a supermajority in their state legislature.
So because of that, you guys are having the issues of the Republic versus the Democrat
Yes,
of
exactly.
of the majority who lives in the same area do not have the same problems at all as the minority who lives in the rest of the entire state.
Exactly.
This is the exact reason for the Electoral College. I mean,
Mhm.
that way you're not represented by a bunch of people that live in the same area. It's like, think about ideologies, it spreads like disease. That's why you see the rural area is a lot less progressive, because a lot of the social change doesn't spread as quick. In the city, it's
You're
like
not
a
immune
disease.
to
Everyone can get.
propaganda.
What's that?
You're not immune to propaganda.
Yeah, but it says it's gonna spread a lot slower than in the cities, where it's basically a disease. It goes from one person to the next super easily. And all it takes is one person in power to change so much. With the education system to brainwash everyone, whereas everything's so separately managed everywhere else.
These people in these areas, they know they're being fucked with. They know they're being screwed. They know they're being lied to. They are not being brainwashed because they are being directly affected by this.
So how long until all of Jefferson takes up the Tiki Torch March and kills your senator?
Well, have you heard of the Jefferson? Have you heard of the Jefferson Border Patrol?
Yep,
Yes.
I have.
1941, they blocked off the highways and essentially passed out pamphlets for anyone going on. Well, I think we're gonna be bringing that back, just not to the point to where it would be illegal. We try to find legal means to do that, but still.
So, as a South Dakotan, the best way for me to help the Jefferson movement is to donate some ammo and guns.
California just passed a law that you can't bring in ammo from other states.
That is
Well, I
gay. Fuck
I
you.
don't care about their laws, because
It's
sometimes
impossible to keep track of it, but yeah. Also, California passed a law that makes it illegal to sell rifles and shotguns to anyone who's under 21. That goes into effect January. And my family just got some guns before I turned 21. So get fucked. Anyway,
Get fucked. Everyone else who isn't me is what you just said.
yeah, I'm sorry. Apologies, but
My apologies.
Jeez,
Tischendorf.
yeah. Looking at
I-
Nevada right now, they have some huge ass counties. My goodness.
Mhm.
I hate this state. You have no fucking idea.
All right, but for real, I would say that if anybody viewing, watching, or listening to this on any platform, SoundCloud, YouTube, RedTube, I don't know what we're on, if you're in California, go ahead and write your congressman before killing them. So just
Oh my
letting them know about the water situation, like, hey, I would like more than a cup a day.
Nope. That's the problem. That's one of the problems with this. They don't care about us. It doesn't matter how many thousands of letters will be sent to congresspeople. They just ignore you unless you are completely on board with their points. At least the Republican, a lot of people like to say that the Republican Party flip-flops and shit within the...
That's just because they actually listen
Yeah,
to
they listen.
people.
That's the problem. Democrats don't listen to their... The Democratic Party does not listen to anything that people have to say within their state if they slightly disagree with them. Republicans at least have the fucking option to talk to them. Like, hell, you can bag on frickin' Jeff Flake and whatnot. At least they listen to people. You have the entire Democrat Party saying, no, we don't want to listen to you. We don't want to do anything that you want.
I've never liked the idea of it's perceived as weak if you go back on your stances or something. If I say some shit and then I am proven wrong, or I come to the conclusion later of if someone's convincing me like, no, you're an idiot, and then I say, oh, okay, you're right, I agree with you, then that just means, you know, I've kind of grown on that stance. I'm not a hypocrite or some shit. I got new information. I got informed about something. I made a better conclusion than I had last time.
Yeah, it's entirely dependent on the situation. I mean, there's a lot of cases where, with like the apologizing, when somebody says something that the outrage mob just loses it over. It's
Yeah,
like,
that's different. I mean,
you
But
know, yeah,
I mean
situation
like
like that,
actual
where-
stances. You know what
Yeah.
I mean?
like the Iraqi war, I've seen a few politicians say I was wrong about that, and I appreciate a politician that can do that, can say, because, you know, as much as I do want a consistent politician, you also don't want one that's wrong all the time. You know, there's a time when you're going to have to acknowledge that you made a mistake. That every politician's going to make a mistake too.
It is astonishingly brave nowadays to admit you were wrong, and that you can just back on that and just say, okay, I've changed my mind now. You know,
I would also like to point out that
get that shit off of Aaron Ford's face. What's wrong?
I would also like to point out the fact that many of the counties within the Central Valley in the Southern California that was red strictly across the board, and during the midterms it was completely red, and then within a day, like 50,000 vote leads went from 50,000 to 45 went from to negative 45,000 within a few hours.
Having too much fun.
I think this is just fucking gross. I think there is mass voter fraud happening.
Yeah, I don't know if we've ever talked about this ever, but how dead people apparently vote Democrat. You guys know about that, right?
Oh yeah, we're all aware.
Yeah.
Just, you know, illegals and dead people and a multitude of other things. A lot of interesting groups vote Democrat.
Yeah. I actually don't know how that happens. I
Neither
need
do
to.
I.
I need to look into that more later. But yeah, California, it's pretty fucked. Not at the fault of the majority of the people, I would say, just from the corrupt people who are, and they are corrupt, in control of it. Just
I'd also
the water situation, the ignoring all of Jefferson and whoever isn't in the major cities, and just the city's
Yeah,
cost of living and everything.
let's also not forget the fact that many of the studies that claim that voter fraud doesn't exist look at very specific. They don't look at counting offices putting in their own fake ballots. So, like, let's say Broward County is. They don't look at that. They look at really specific cases that already are normally proven false, and they go with that. They run with that.
I really feel sorry for y'all. Yeah.
I'm beyond pissed.
You should be.
don't
You
want-
have a right to be.
I don't want this beautiful land, the mountains and forests, to be fucked over.
Why do
by
liberals
fucking-
always get the nice states? They always populate where the nice shit is. It's like, fuck them.
That's where the easiest life to live is.
Yeah, typically.
Mhm.
Especially on the
Um,
coast.
But California's policies, despite being environmentally friendly, is destroying the forests. It's ridding us of our water. It's putting high density housing and commercial buildings everywhere that parks and forests used to be. This state is full of hypocrisy, and I absolutely hate it.
I wonder how quickly all these fires could have been gone if that 80% of water thrown into the ocean was thrown at the water. Because I'm looking at the fire map again, and I kind of like how there's a gigantic fucking fire that's over 20 miles long. That also apparently have spawned these smaller ads as the boss. All these other fires just everywhere around San Francisco and San Jose and everywhere.
Yeah, it's not the most ideal living situation.
No, burning fire and flooding directly afterward.
I think the city problem is I don't know how to go about that. On one side of it, I'm like huge on we need to increase birth rates, especially white people. I mean that's a huge problem is like the lack of birth rates.
Okay.
But on the same token, you look at like the more we seem to get populated, the more there's going to be cities. You don't have there's only so much rural land, and the more cities we have, the more leftist they are. You look at immigration. Back when we had a ton of German immigration, 1800s, 1900s. If you look at like ancestry maps of the U.S. for Europeans, the Midwest is like really German. A lot of those areas are, and we had a ton of German immigration.
Oh
But the
yeah,
reason that we're
I have a retarded amount of German friends in Texas.
and the reason that they weren't such a problem really is because they spread out. They became farmers. They didn't just congregate in the cities. Well, what we see with immigrants now is they congregate in the cities. They self-segregate themselves, and they vote in their own self-interest. And so we essentially are creating these ethno
there's the
states.
difference between
That's the thing about
immigration,
California.
like natural immigration, where you go into any country, assimilate, and you came with a skill, rather than how we do it nowadays, where it's, oh, you poor thing, you're fleeing. We'll take you in open arms. You'll be okay.
Well, to
my
be fair, I
child."
mean, a lot of the immigrants we used to get didn't have a ton of skills either. I think the big thing was that the common culture. You take an immigrant from Europe, they have similarities to us. There's not going to be a huge confrontation, and
Oh yeah.
people don't seek to self-segregate as much. And if you're all from the same continent and stuff,
You,
but
you can't
you start
really assimilate if you come also with over like 50,000 people of your same type, and you live with them and don't really interact with the rest of
That's
the
the big
nation
thing,
that
the
you live
mass
in.
migration. If you take it in slowly, then they're going to be forced to assimilate. When you take it in large amounts, you're going to be uncomfortable with being around people that aren't like you. You're going to segregate with people that you know and are like you and share a common
Like
culture and
I'm
language.
sure that second generation immigrants now, like people who have been born here and are unfortunately more like their parents. They're like culture wise and everything, and not really even with an American accent.
May I butt
Yeah,
in
go ahead.
for a moment? You say that many left-leaning peoples within the metropolitan areas vote for their own self-interest. I will challenge that point in the case that they don't have any self-interest. They only vote on party lines because they are still brainwashed.
Well, I was talking more about the as far as races. Like I don't think that's necessarily urban or rural. I mean everyone's going to vote to some degree to their own what they believe is in their self-interest. But what I see with Hispanics and blacks in this country is they vote a lot more in favor of what's going to serve Hispanics and blacks versus what's going to serve Americans in general versus whites who
There
seem to
are
vote on behalf of everyone.
there are people who are actually so brainwashed that they will vote entirely blue or even red in some cases, all on the ballot box. Like a couple of years ago, one of my friends who I knew in high school, Tyrone, like his whole family. This is when it was back in 2016. His whole family was going to be voting for Hillary Clinton, and I started teaching him a little bit about a history about how the Democrats back in the day wanted to keep black people enslaved and all this other shit, and which party Abraham Lincoln actually belonged to. He apparently never fucking knew that, even though we went to the same high school together.
Let's not.
You know what I mean?
And let's not forget that the Democratic Party still likes to keep them in horrible situations to make them
Dependent on the system, where it's all
they have them at such a low point and they force them to be on the same system, and yet they blame Republicans for this.
Well, anyway, he got woke real fucking quick, and informed the entire rest of his family. I think even his grandmother voted Republican that day.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I feel like I made a little bit of a difference there. Good shit. And yeah, I guess we missed Cobalt. He's dead. I don't know what happened to him.
Yeah, he
I think
kinda
the
just. Oh, he's typing.
Oh, no, that's not him. That's the assassins that they sent. He's gonna show up in an article later. And suicide, three gunshots to the back of the head.
Computer is out of memory. Well, shit.
That's one way to say you got shot 3 times in the back of the head. Well, I feel like this might be a good time to wrap it up. Cheesepuff, do you want to plug in anything? Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, whatever?
I'll plug in I mean, I could plug in the Jefferson pages if any of you want to check that out.
Okay. No, this is just for the viewers or whatever.
Yeah.
Or we could stick around and ask our 5 people if they wanna. If anyone has a question that you would like us to answer, real quick before we head the fuck out of here, go ahead and type it.
Questions are always nice. But if any of you want to check out the official Jefferson Movement page, it's soj51.org.
Go ahead and type it in so Tito can put it in, the chat. Oh.
51 being 51st state,
51st state. It's a good title card right there, I would say. All right, but yeah, thank you, M34. The rest of your thing, shit, I'm tired. Yeah, and you'll find us next week. We'll either be doing this on Saturday or Sunday, alternating, weekly.
Yep.
All right, I think that's it. I'm Hindsight. That was Cheesepuff, and the rest of our cast is fucking gone. See ya.
See ya.
Well, that went well.
That went pretty well.
All right.
I'm sorry.
Well, that's how conversations go. They just go everywhere.
I'm sorry. If I get on the track of California, I get on the track of California.
Yeah, that was our episode 2, California. That's the title. The last one was Pilot. Yeah. Yeah, but on the YouTube, put the either bitching about California or talking about California
I would have
as the
plugged in.
title.
I would have plugged in the official Jefferson Facebook page, but most of those people are boomer types.
Yeah.
Neocon.
I think for next time it would be nice if we had a guest that wasn't politically aligned with the right. If we could find someone either a centrist or hell even a communist, I don't give a fuck if they're willing to talk. It'd be interesting to have a guest like that.
My friend is, well, I have a socialist friend and a left. I have a classical left-leaning liberal
Okay.
friend.
Well, if they decide to want to come on, I'm sure we'll be nice to them.
Also, my left-leaning friend, he has this thing to where he has very radical beliefs in all directions, and it just puts him there. So
All right.
it's gonna be a very interesting.
Well, if they decide, just give them the offer, because it'd be nice to have someone who, to have a different opposing head, I guess. So long as they behave themselves well. Like, I'll tell everyone not to fucking yell at them too, but I don't think they would.
Holy fuck, that's a lot of members that just joined.
Who?